Good afternoon, and welcome to another episode of Doctor to Doctor in the chat room. I am super excited to be with you this Saturday, and I'm so glad that you decided to come and hang out with me in the chat room. So I'm just so excited because it's the holidays. I cannot believe it. It's like, where did this year go? Like I've said that in the past, but this time, like I really, really mean it, right? It's like the year just flew by. I'm so grateful to God that I am here, that I've made it thus far, and I'm so glad and grateful to God that you have as well. Got a really good show for you today. We're going to hang out with attorney Lisa Knox. She's from Florida and she does family law, and we're so excited to have her. I hope that the next time she decides to come and hang out with us in the chat room, it will be a show and an episode where we can have you call in and get you some questions together for her. And you can call in and answer some questions. But today we're just going to hang out and talk about some of the things that she does in her profession and her career. She practices marital and family law. This includes child custody, child support, divorces, post judgment modifications, same sex family law issues, and paternity actions. Collaborative law, adoptions, including step parent adoptions, traditional adoptions, and second parent adoptions, and dependency, including interventions. In addition, she is a Florida Supreme Court certified family law mediator. To each client that she represents, Lisa makes a personal commitment that she will represent their unique interests by providing honest evaluations, realistic expectations, open communication, creative solutions, and most importantly, skilled legal knowledge. She is a native Floridian, born and raised in Orlando, Florida. She earned her bachelor's degree in psychology from Tuskegee University and a master's degree in industrial organizational psychology with a focus on consumer psychology from the Chicago School of Professional Psychology. Lisa earned her Juris Doctor from Barry University, Dwayne O. Andreas School of Law. She did not take the traditional path to practice in law. Prior to attending law school and practicing family law, she experienced issues with divorce, child custody, child support, domestic violence, and the subsequent life changes that these experiences bring. In addition, she led a successful career in the corporate world and in entrepreneurship. After gaining such life experience and overcoming major life challenges, she decided to follow the path for which she was designed, practicing law. Because of the life experience that she gained prior to practicing law, Lisa brings a unique perspective to representing her clients. Each of her clients will benefit from the holistic approach that she takes in reviewing and analyzing their cases and their unique situations. For each case and client, Lisa thoroughly considers not only the applicable law and legal strategy to address the issue, but she also considers how the legal strategy and its execution will serve each client's best interests after their case comes to a conclusion. Her goal is to leave each client stronger, more prepared, and more confident in their new normal than they were before they retained her. When she's not practicing law, Lisa enjoys spending time with her family, mentoring current and future law students, and volunteering in her local community. Wow, what a bio. And I'm so excited to have her today with us in the chat room and just to dive more into how she landed in this space where she is today. Attorney Knox, thank you. Thank you so much for taking a moment to come and hang out with us in the chat room.
I am so happy. I'm so blessed to be here. Thank you, Dr. Shaw, for having me. And I look
Absolutely.
forward to it.
Yeah. So, look, here's where I got to start with you. So, I'm
Okay.
reading this bio, right?
hmm
And, I know that I'm introducing an attorney.
hmm
That's not where you started. Your journey
Oh,
started
yeah.
somewhere totally different than where you've landed.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about the journey. How did you
Okay.
get here? How did you get here?
You know what? There's a saying that God looks after babies and fools,
Mm-hmm.
and I am not a baby. So there we go. It really was a wild journey. I didn't see myself, doing this. As a matter of fact, actually, I I didn't know when I was young. So I'm talking to all of the listeners who are, still in high school, still trying to figure out what they're going to do.
Yeah,
Still
yeah.
adults are still trying to figure out what they're going to do. I
Mhm,
didn't know what I was going to do. I
mhm.
actually, even going to college, like when I was in high school, I didn't even know if I was going to college. I to this day, I know it had to have been, um, it had to be supernatural that I
Yeah.
even went away to college for my bachelor's degree to Tuskegee, because to this day, I don't remember applying for it.
Wow.
My school counselor dared me. She made a $10 bet with me that I wouldn't take the ACT. And $10 is $10. I don't care how you put it. So I will never forget. I went to the club that night and
Yeah,
partied like a rock star. Club I ain't have no business going into.
yeah.
And pulled out from the club and weeble wobbled my way on into the school campus to finish and take the ACT. Fell asleep during the ACT, was so unconcerned with my future. Fell asleep during the ACT and drooled on the test. The proctor was like, "No, you're not gonna do
You
that."
don't give me that.
Right. So everybody else is taking the test and I'm airing it out, trying to dry it
Yeah.
out. And then the next thing I know, there's a scholarship to Tuskegee. And I'm like, I don't recall applying, but at that same time, see how God will sometimes use the smallest of things. At that same time, my little boyfriend had just broke up with me, and my
Mm.
mama was yelling at me about going to clean the dishes. And I thought to
Uh-huh.
myself, Alabama, they can't bother me in Alabama.
Yeah.
I'm out. And that's what I that was a Sunday. And by that next week, we were ready. And it was just very interesting. I tell people about how, like, we didn't have a car. I'm from Orlando, and I'm from
Mhm.
the part of Orlando where they don't like to put that on Disney News.
Okay.
That
Okay.
is not the tourist section of Orlando. um, but I didn't have a car. We didn't have money. I had no idea about financial aid. My mom had gone to college, but she hadn't really helped me with it because she went to college as a non-traditional student. And I
Mhm.
remember talking to my Aunt Priscilla Shellman. If you are listening, Aunt Priscilla, thank you again. I
Wow.
called her. I said, Aunt Priscilla, I need to get to Alabama. And she said, when? I said, Tuesday. She said, it's Sunday. I said, I know. She said, Lisa, wait until January. You can start the next semester in January at
Mhm.
UCF. And me being a smart mouth, I said, oh, well, it's only what, May, June, July now, whatever. It was the summertime. I want to say around August because school was getting ready to start. I said, oh, well, if I do that now at the rate I'm going, I'll only be a few months pregnant in January. And she said, oh, pack it up. I'll be there tomorrow night. Have your stuff packed up. And what I did not know is, her daughter had already said, hey, mom, I'm expecting. And my Aunt Priscilla was like, not on my watch. We're gonna get you busy. And
Mhm.
so that's a side testimony to how good my Aunt Priscilla was, but also how good she wasn't my mother's sister. She was my mother's best friend. How
Wow.
good people in your corner are. Because
Mhm.
good people in your corner will bless your children
Mm.
and your children's children, you know?
Mm. I remember the interview that Oprah did with Denzel Washington
Mm-hmm.
many, many years ago, and he had his mom in the audience, and she asked her, "So, what was it like?" or something about, trying to encourage him, and because he
Mm-hmm.
was, they got him in the Boys and Girls Club, he became the face of that later or whatever.
Right.
And she said, I remember when my mother used to pray, and my mother used to ask God to bless my children and my
Mhm.
children's children.
Yes.
And she said it was my mother's prayers.
Yes.
Isn't that something?
Yes. Because I know I was coasting on my grandma and my great grandmother's prayers. I mean,
Yeah,
you know, and
yeah.
so to make a long story, I guess even longer, good Dr. Shaw,
Hmm.
I went to Tuskegee University, had no idea about financial aid or anything, went there with $20 in my pocket. God was like, we still gonna take care of this fool. Watch this, Peter.
Hmm.
And he got me through 4 years and done. it was a challenge, but we made it through. And I
Mhm.
came home to Orlando, had no idea what I wanted to do. And my dad, when I was a little girl, my dad said, daughter, because that's how he used to talk to me. He said, daughter, you talk too much and you don't know how to be submissive and you're expensive. Those are those three. I talk too much. I don't know how to be submissive and I'm expensive. He said, so
Mhm.
you're going to need to do one of three things. You're either going to need to work in sales, you're going to have your own business, or you're going to have to be
Mhm.
a lawyer. And
Mm.
I thought nothing of it when I was a little girl.
Mhm.
Graduated from Tuskegee and thought, I'm done with school. I get a job, I'm in sales, making great
Mm.
money. Decide I want to write a book. I don't know why I thought I wanted to write an autobiography at 20 something. I hadn't lived, but I was going to
Right.
write a great American novel, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And met this man and got swept off my feet and got married. And then shortly thereafter, y'all don't have to do the math, but shortly thereafter, we had our son.
Mhm.
And then shortly thereafter that, we didn't work out.
Mhm.
So here it was, I'd always grown up thinking, don't get married, don't have children, because I hadn't seen it work out for any of the women that I'd ever known, women in my family, women in the neighborhood, whatever. So I was like, don't ever do that. And here it
Mhm.
is. I got married, I had a son, and now I'm getting a divorce. And congratulations, I'm about to be a single mother. And I was terrified. I
Yeah.
was not a lawyer at this time. I I did what I thought was best at the time, you
Mhm.
know. Um, I made some mistakes along the way. I surely did, but I did what I thought was best at the time.
Mhm.
Got divorced and was at work one day, and they said, Lisa, we're not going to give you a raise. I said, you're not going to give me a raise. I said, no, we're not going to give you a raise this year. We're going to change the whole plan and the structure and so forth. And we think you've been making too much. I said, okay. And I thought about it and prayed about it. I went to work the next day. I said, so do y'all still pay for school? And they said, yeah, we'll pay for school, but you have to have a 3.0. You have to have no less than a B.
Mhm.
So I went and I looked for the most expensive program possible, my little spiteful self. And I signed up and enrolled in that program. Now, my bachelor's degree is in psychology, but that expensive program that I signed up for was in industrial organizational psychology with a consumer psychology focus.
Wow.
And I realized, oh, I got myself into some mess.
Mm.
But because I was not going to pay those people back their money,
You
and
went through.
because, 3.97 GPA. So I walked out of there with a graduate degree.
Come on now.
So now let me, bring you up to where I was. Bachelor's degree, got married, had marital issues from the beginning, right? Crazy in
Mhm.
love with this man, but had marital issues from the beginning. There was issues about money. There was domestic violence. There
Mhm.
was threats about custody. There was stalking. There were at one point he stole my car. How you steal my car and it's our car? I don't know, but it was it was crazy, like, alimony and all these different things. So I'd gone through that, got knocked down, stood back up, single mom now, having no idea what I'm doing, but I'm just like, hey, little buddy. That's how I used to, my son and I, because, he was 1.5 when we
Mhm.
separated. And so I'd have real conversations with him. And I remember telling him, little buddy, mommy doesn't know what we're going to do, but we're going to do it together. Okay. And he was like, all right, if you need help, let me know.
Mm.
So we make it through life. We get the we get the master's degree. And I say we because he's always been a part of things, right?
Mhm.
And bought a house, credit score went up, God is good. Started a business. You keeping track?
Keeping track. It ain't
Sales,
easy,
right. Started a
but I'm
business.
keeping track.
All right. So now we're in there and we started a business and we're doing well and he's helping me with it. And it was a natural, organic, gluten-free, vegan-friendly hair care and facial care products. Side note, I have degrees in psychology, nothing to do with chemistry, biology, anything like that.
Wow.
I just go to sleep. Lord, give me a recipe. And I wake up the next day with the recipe in my mind, put it in there, put my house coat on and get in my kitchen and make a product.
Wow.
And it took off. Took off.
Beautiful
Have,
skin, by the way.
Excuse me?
Beautiful skin, by the way.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate it. Now I try to
That's so
wash it
cute.
at least once a week. So I was really excited because I thought this is my way, right? I'm
Mhm,
good. I'm
mhm,
done with school. This is how I'm going to become a billionaire. And along the way, life happened. And one day, life happened to me. And I got not only knocked down, I got knocked down and bowled over.
mhm.
I got in a situation, I got sick, and I almost died. Literally. I remember I couldn't breathe, and I remember calling the rescue EMTs, and I remember telling them, I'm dead. Come get me because I'm dead. And when I say done, I want to say my blood pressure was like 70 over something. And I remember thinking to myself, oh, somebody is not having a good day. And it was me.
Mhm.
Had to have emergency surgery and so forth, had to learn how to walk again.
Oh, wow.
And so finally we get through all that, learn how to walk again. My son helps me. And he's 7 at this time. And I can't do my business anymore because I can't do all that running around. And so he tells me, Mom, I'm really proud of you, but now I'm concerned. What are you going to do now? I said, Son, what do you think I should do? And he said, Well, Mom, I've been thinking about it. I think you should do something that you've always thought about doing, but maybe you were afraid of.
Wow.
Right, 7. And so I said, Okay. And I thought about it. And then I said, Well, I'm going to go to law school. And that joker said, Well, wait a minute. Now, I think you got a little carried away. I don't think you need, who wants to go back to school? But
Mhm.
I made a decision that I was going to go to law school. And so I told him, I said, Well, buddy, if I'm going, we're going. So we're about to be lawyers.
Mm.
Now, this might be a good time to get yourself a cup of water or something, and I'll
What
tell you the rest of it.
How old were you then?
By that time, I'd had a mortgage and a son, and I was in that sandwich community of taking care of my mother as well.
Mhm.
So I was in my 30s then. So it's sort of like a midlife crisis. Go ahead and start your whole life over.
Yeah.
I had no idea what to do, what to expect. Nobody, I didn't know anybody who had gone through law school. Didn't even know that was an option. And it really was a talk with the Lord. And I was like, look, I'm not going to do anything extra because I want
Mhm.
to be sure that you want me to do this. So I'm not
Mhm.
going to do anything extra. And if you want me to do this, you'll make it so that I can't do nothing but this. And if you don't want me to do it, then you'll make it to where it doesn't matter what I do, I won't be able to do it.
Mhm.
And then I waited.
So, I wanna talk about that journey, going through school
Hmm.
at that point in life, and then I wanna talk about how all of these experiences that you've just shared with us have shaped how you practice law.
Okay.
We'll talk about that when we come back from break. We'll be
All right.
right back in a moment, right here on Doctor to Doctor in the chat room on 94.7 FM. We'll see you in a moment. And we are still here on 94.7 FM. I am here with attorney Lisa Knox,
Yeah.
and she's talking a little bit about her journey into practicing law. And after hearing all of this, right, I want to know how it shaped the way you practice. But before that, what was going back to school like? Tell us that little bit of journey, of that piece of the journey.
It was, actually, it was very intimidating in the
Mm-hmm.
beginning. It was
Mm-hmm.
very intimidating. And I did my hardest not to be, but in a lot of my classes, I was the mama. There students who were older than me, for sure.
Yeah.
There were, but I was the person who everybody came to if they had problems or if there were
Mm-hmm.
issues or beefs going on. They come to Mama Lisa, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, I that was sort of the role that I took. But I also had to juggle so many things because I had an elementary school student. And I
Mm-hmm.
had, I'm in that sandwich where I'm also helping my siblings take care of my mom. And I
Okay.
don't know if you've ever had to take care of your parents and all, but they're hard headed. They don't listen.
They
You know,
are. You hear that, Mama?
so it was a challenge. I never had to study before, and so I had to learn how to study,
Mm-hmm.
and then I had to learn how to study as rigorously as it was required for law school.
Mm-hmm.
And then I didn't go to a top tier law school where you can just sort of coast on the name of your law school. Like, I went to the law school for non-traditional students.
Mm-hmm.
And so that meant that I got to get it. Nobody's giving me any free opportunities. I got
Mm-hmm.
to claim and create opportunities and make something out of nothing. You know,
Okay.
so that happened. I started out in part-time and thought I could work and go to school.
Mm-hmm.
And that was not going to work out. So I went full time, full speed ahead, press the gas, no brakes, quit my job. So now I have zero income and I'm going to school full time, but I still have a child. I still have a mama. I still have a mortgage and I got a car note. How are we going to do it? Had no idea, but we
How
made
did
it.
you do it?
I truly believe God was like, hold on, Peter, watch this one more time. So,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because a lot of financial aid, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of, you know, going without, to be honest, and sacrificing,
Yeah.
and that's a different, it's one thing to be a broke college student when you're a broke college student. There's
Yeah.
another thing to be a broke college student when you're a single mom with a mortgage.
Yeah.
you know and I was still having certain battles that I was fighting when I was going through my divorce. My ex-husband told me, since you want to be hard-headed and get a divorce, now you're going to force our son to go without, because now he's not going to be living in a two-income household, so he's going to suffer, and every time he suffers and goes without, is you're going to know it's your fault. So in the midst of all this stuff, right, I'm battling that demon. So here it is. I'm trying to make sure that our son does not know that we're going without.
Yeah.
He doesn't see that. So it was a challenge. Law school is when I tell people all the time, people say, oh, well, I was really smart and I like to argue I could go to law school. Go to law school if your heart is in it, because it is going to be by far the hardest time of your world. It
Wow.
requires everything.
Mm-hmm.
I even studied abroad. So that was a blessing. I studied abroad. Here it is, this girl from the hood who didn't even have a car to get to,
Mm-hmm.
Tuskegee. Fast forward, I'm in law school studying abroad in Spain. So that was
Wow.
an experience, you know.
So all of this that
Mhm.
all of your journey, how has it shaped the way you practice law? Because I really think there's a lot of cloudiness and negative connotations attached to law or
Mhm.
attorneys.
Lawyers, yeah. We all know a
Uh-huh.
good lawyer joke,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, you know,
But I feel like with you, there's a different approach.
I thank you. I'm glad that you feel that way. And that's the biggest compliment anyone can ever give me, when I tell someone that I'm a lawyer and they say, "What? You just seem too nice to be a lawyer, or
Mm-hmm.
too down to earth to be a lawyer." And that's good, because that is sort of my walking ministry, that we are, the most of us are actual humans with real lives, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So for
Mm-hmm.
me, because of my life experience, one, I don't look at just what can legally be done.
Okay.
People want things. So I practice primarily family law, and people
Mm-hmm.
want things that legally they can have, right? But
Mm-hmm.
they're not thinking about what happens afterwards. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
legally you can go to trial and we can tell the judge all the business. We can share all the dirty laundry, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we can go
Mm-hmm.
ahead and we can put all your family and friends up on that stand to testify, and to show all the text messages and so forth, and bring your pastor in and all of that. But at the end of the day, what I recognize is that I go home,
Yeah.
and now you're going to be stuck with, how do you interact with that family member afterwards,
Mm-hmm.
especially if you have children. How are you going
Mm-hmm.
to co-parent, right? and work
Mhm.
together for the good of that child and go to graduations and proms and, first day of schools and all those things. How are you going to do all that when you're over here showing, naked pictures to the court?
Yeah.
People
Yeah.
do that. I tell people two things all the time. The first thing is that I am a family law attorney. I'm a family law attorney who
Mhm.
practices and does divorces. I manage divorces. I am not a divorce attorney. My job is not to tear your family apart. My job is not
Mhm.
to my job is to help restructure your family. That's my job.
Operative word, family law.
Absolutely. Because at
Mhm.
the end of the day, I don't care what goes on. When your great great grandchild does that little raggedy third grade project that every third grader has to do, where they do their
Mhm.
family tree, guess what? Your name is going to be by his or her name
Mhm.
in a day, right?
Mhm.
So that's the first thing I tell them. And the second thing that I tell all my clients, come heck or high water, my job is to look after your best interests across the
Mhm.
board,
Mhm.
even if that means that I have to get you out the way to do it.
Hmm.
Because a lot of people don't realize they're in their own way of getting their own best interest. So we have to have those conversations sometimes. That means I have to be fearless, though. I have to be completely and totally unafraid of somebody saying, well, you know what? That's not what I want in an attorney.
Yeah, and how I was gonna say, how receptive are folks, especially those that come in there ready to just dig in with all the fingernails and
Mm-hmm.
rip out somebody's heart, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because they're hurt and because they're bitter. You
Mm-hmm.
know, how difficult is it to get buy-in?
For me, it's not that difficult, one, because I think that human nature innately, we know when people really care. And
Hmm.
so when I say I
Oh,
really
that's
care,
major.
yeah.
Yes.
But then I also know now, I don't know if your viewers and listeners can see me, but if y'all can see me, then y'all know that the Lord has provided good food for me to eat. So, so I have learned that whether someone goes or whether someone comes, whether they leave or whether they stay, I still get to eat at some point.
Mhm.
So I don't need to sacrifice, beg, borrow, or steal. And I don't have
Mhm.
to ruin somebody's life, even though that's what they think they want. I don't have to ruin somebody's life for a dime.
Mhm.
I can stick true to my values.
What are some of the common misconceptions that people have about family law?
Oh goodness. I hear it all. I hear the common misconception. Well, I don't whoever, files, that's the one who ruined the marriage. So or
Okay.
I want to file first because then I get the benefit of no, it doesn't matter who files first.
Okay.
Um Now hold on before I finish
Because I've
saying this.
heard that one. Mhm.
Let me say I practice family law and I'm licensed in Florida. This is not legal advice out here in listening world, okay? This is
Mhm.
not legal advice. If you
Mhm.
need legal advice, I would encourage you to consult an attorney that practices in your jurisdiction. So
Mhm.
now that all that
Mhm.
legalese is out, right?
Mhm.
What else do I hear? Oh, let's do 50-50 so I don't have to pay child support. That's not how that works.
Hmm.
Mhm. Um let's stay married for I'm gonna stay married for 10 years so that I can get the retirement or so that I can get alimony.
I've heard those.
Can you imagine being in 10 years of hell?
I can't personally. So, and people that know me are probably really cracking up. Like I personally can't, but I
I
know people. I know people
yeah, yeah.
that feel that way. I mean, even down to, well, I stayed in it this long, so mm-mm.
And I'm all right now. If you want, you can either be on divorce court or snapped, one or the other. Okay. um, so what and the most famous thing that I hear all the time, the 50-50, the 10 years, and the courts prefer mama. Court's always gonna rule against daddy. That's the wild stuff that I hear all the time. And as
Mhm.
as a
Particularly child support.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But even with custody, as
Okay.
a mother of a son and
Mm-hmm.
as the sister of brothers, you know what I mean? No, that's not the case. That's not the case.
Mm-hmm.
One, and so I'm going to put it out here, and all, and your viewers and listeners may get mad, but here's the deal. One, mamas pay child support too. Boom.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Wives pay alimony too. It's not just husbands.
Mm-hmm.
Boom. And guess what? Sometimes it's in the child's best interest that they live with daddy.
Mm-hmm.
You
Boom.
know, boom. Mm. So you're gonna get mail about that, good Dr. Shaw. I'm just letting you know.
Yeah. So I've been in situations quite a bit, in fact,
Mhm.
where I'm the only one in the room, particularly in in the workforce.
Yes.
Tell me about your experience as a Black woman in the legal industry.
Okay. Just hearing you say that makes me,
Yeah.
because there's not there's not a lot of us. There's not a lot of Black women in the legal
Mm-hmm.
industry when you really think. But then again, even though the statistics will say that Black women are the most populated, are the most educated population,
Mm-hmm.
you know, we still find that in all of these professions, in the legal profession, the medical profession, the mental health profession, and all, it is not, there's not equal representation for Black
We
women.
don't get the credit for it if we
No.
are. Yeah. We show up the most educated, the most experienced, the
Right.
whole lot of things,
Right.
but we're not treated as such.
Right. And so there's been times where, oh, Dr. Shaw, I've experienced it all, where I go to the courtroom, same judge, same case, gone there several times, or had several cases in front of the same judge,
Mm.
during the same day. And the bailiff still says, well, are you the court reporter?
Mm.
Absolutely not. Or where I will have people who will say, I've gotten this where, you know, if I have a client who may be of a different ethnicity, I'm just going to go ahead and, if I have a white client, I've had this
Mm-hmm.
happen before where they say, oh, well, my husband, I know he's prejudiced. So I want you to get out there and give it all you can. So you want me to be extra Black? Like, what is that? How do I do that? What does that
Okay.
involve? But then I've had the vice versa. I actually had because remember, now we're in the South, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're in the South.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so I've had people come and say, you know what, Lisa, you are so smart. You clearly know what you're doing. You know what you're arguing. But my concern is that these judges are not going to listen to you because you're Black. And these are Black clients. Because you're Black, they're not going to listen to you. Or they didn't listen to us, so I know they're not going to listen to you. And
Mm-hmm.
that is my opportunity then to educate across the board, because my existence in the legal industry is an
Mm-hmm.
education.
Mm-hmm.
When I go out and I wear my hair in its, natural Afro state and so forth, I do that on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Because what I do know is that oftentimes I'm the most educated person in the room, and I don't stutter when I say
Yeah.
the most educated person in the
Yeah.
room. Because
Yeah.
people don't realize you can go from your bachelor's, the track is from your bachelor's, you go straight to your Juris Doctor.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that I have a degree and post certifications and so forth, that makes me the most educated person in the room.
Yeah.
And I shan't apologize for it. So with that being said, when I have people who say that when they, want me to go ahead and be extra Black, I guess, or when they want me to go ahead and ghostwrite for a white attorney and all, those are opportunities where
Wow.
where I have to treat everyone with grace and say, listen, this is who I am, unapologetically.
Mm-hmm.
You can have me or you can go without me.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm never going to do is put on a show and be inauthentic just based on who you want me to be that day.
Mm-hmm.
But if you choose me, and if I choose you, then we have to ride it out together.
Mm.
But now don't get upset, because listen, it's like water in the desert. Have you ever heard of a bottle of water getting upset because somebody said, "No, I don't want you, Zephyr Hills. I want Sprite." You in the desert and you don't want Zephyr Hills. You want Sprite. You think Zephyr Hills loses sleep?
Right. That's right.
Dehydrate. You know?
Do you? See, y'all didn't know talking to an attorney was going to be this fun and hilarious. You didn't even know. When I introduced her, you had no idea. This is so good. So I got a question that might not even, I don't even know how relevant it is. This is just off the cuff, really.
Just,
So one of the things that I've heard people talk about is like, I tried to, particularly in child support cases.
mhm,
I tried to tell the judge this. I tried to talk to the judge, wouldn't let me talk. And they was
mhm,
like, if you want to get an attorney and blah, blah,
mhm.
blah, why is that? Are there certain issues that require, or is it just unique to various judges?
Okay, so that's a the answer to that is the traditional lawyer answer. It depends. So I say that because every judge has specific preferences.
Okay.
As an attorney, even with judges I've been around and in front of for years who know me, I know that certain judges have different preferences. If
Mm-hmm.
I, am in front of a judge for the first time, I have to go and look up their preferences. What do they like? What do they not like? Right.
Gotcha.
However, what I have found is oftentimes when people are representing themselves, that's when they run into the issue, because outside of just the judge's preferences, there's two things that sort of govern, especially trials:
Mm-hmm.
the rules of evidence and the rules of procedure.
Procedure. I hear you.
And in the state of Florida, now I don't know about any other state, but in the state of Florida, technically, if a person represents themselves, they're considered pro se,
Mm-hmm.
but they are still held to the standard of a competent attorney. So they
Gotcha.
think, I'm representing myself, the court is going to give some leeway. No, technically, the court is supposed to hold you to the same standard they will hold me,
Because
knowing
you
the rules
made
and
the
procedure.
decision to represent
Absolutely.
yourself. Okay. All right.
Yep.
All right. We're going to talk more when we come back from break. I really want to talk about some of the ethical considerations and lessons learned in your career.
Okay.
Uh, and we just want to learn more about Attorney Knox. We'll be back in a moment on 94.7 FM, Doctor to Doctor in the chat room. See you in a moment. Having a having an awesome time hanging out with Attorney Knox here on Doctor to Doctor in the chat room. Want to talk about some of the ethical considerations and lessons learned in your career, because I'm sure there are many.
Oh, goodness. Yes, there are.
Uh huh. Mm-hmm.
Some learned by me and some learned just by watch. I prefer, when we deal with ethical issues, to just watch
Yeah.
other people
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
and go
Mm-hmm.
through the journey, and
Mm-hmm.
then I know not to step my toe into that situation, but it
Mm-hmm.
happens.
Mm-hmm.
Um, a lot of times, we get into, when I say we, I mean my clients oftentimes get into ethical situations where I have to make, ethical decisions about whether something is ethical or not, because they're being influenced. And the number one influencer, TV.
Mm.
So
Not
listen,
TV.
TV. Look, Olivia Benson, look, love you, but
Yeah.
not realistic. More realistic than a lot of others, but not realistic.
Okay.
Annalise Keaton, stop, y'all. That's not realistic. And I say
Wow.
that because I will have people who will say, I had one situation where husband hacked into wife's account
Mm-hmm.
and was just downloading all her conversations with her attorney.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
His attorney can't use that. We can't use that.
Really?
No, that'll put our license on the line. You are spying. You know. People, when they say, oh, well, I got it on camera, I'm recording it, right? That's one thing. But when people record and they don't tell the other person, oh, I'm going to record a phone call.
It's inadmissible.
In the state of Florida. Now, every state is different, and
Okay.
everybody needs to check with their state laws
Mm-hmm.
and so forth. But in the state of Florida, you can record someone's actions, but recording their voice without their permission and consent? No, absolutely not. I can't use that in court. You about to go to jail. So those are ethical considerations. Other ethical considerations are when people feel like, you know what? So here's the other thing I need to just tell people before I say this. Typically, your attorney is going to have either a collegial relationship or possibly be friends with the other side's attorney.
I've known that to be true.
Yeah. And I have a
Yeah.
saying.
They might be doing happy hour together.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, we're all doing happy hour together. And I'm
Mhm.
saying this because that's in your best interest, actually. I always tell people a good attorney knows the law, right? A better attorney knows the judge. But good Dr. Shaw, the best attorney knows opposing counsel. We can go out, talk about it over some nachos. Boom, we got a resolution. That's the best. That's how you're going to save it. We don't do the whole collusion of, let's go ahead and create a lot of fuss and get both of them to pay us a lot of money. No. Not an attorney worth a doggone.
Mm-hmm.
We do that to move, to make negotiations and so forth. Because a lot of times our colleagues are the people who refer us business. They're the people who mention our names in rooms where we're not there. Our reputations. They make our reputations.
So you know what, Attorney Knox, you would be great. You would be great at working across the aisles, the political aisles. Hint, hint. Just thought I'd throw that.
I would hope so. I can think of a couple of politicians who I would probably have to invite outside to the parking lot because God is still polishing me.
One of the things my dad has been in the legislature for many years now. One of the things that he stressed is that's been a part of his success has been it's being able to work across the aisles.
I see that, and especially in this day and age, people are so polarized and they make decisions, and I know that's not the type of topic we're talking about, but I'm just going to say it. They make decisions based on who they have aligned themselves with or what standard. And oftentimes you have to look at the big picture. So now going back when you said what does my experience bring when I'm practicing law, I always try to look at the big picture. Sometimes you got to lose a battle so that you can win a war.
Yes.
And my job is to find out if we got to lose a certain battle, let's lose it quickly, expeditiously, and move on to the next thing because we have a whole war to plan out. So that's the case there. And if that means that I got to play nice, then we're going to go ahead and play nice. It ain't going to kill me.
Yeah. So, how far into your career did you find yourself opening up your own firm?
Whew. Okay, so that daddy of mine, I tell you what, I was at a firm. I started with internships from the time I started with law school, and God really put me in great opportunities, great positions, and so forth. I said, I don't want to do family law, Lord. And he was like, I'm not trying to hear that. So, that happened. Was with a firm for, I want to say, my goodness, 4 years. 4 years. I even interned with them. 4 years. And I just never imagined myself leaving this firm. I loved my coworkers. I loved my boss. Just, everything was perfect. And then I heard God say, all right, pack it up. And at that time I was a smoker. So I had to stop and look at the cigarette because I had to be sure it was just a menthol. What you mean, pack it up? We're good over here. And he meant what he said. And so he put me in a situation where I had to pack it up. And so September 19th of 2019, I will never forget, I just moved into a house.
Mm-hmm.
Biggest house that my family had ever had. When I say
Mm-hmm.
biggest, I don't mean like Cosby Show, but I mean like, you know, the biggest family, like that was my coup de grace, you know, we
Mm-hmm.
made it.
Mm-hmm.
And so it comes with the biggest mortgage, right, that
Mm-hmm.
I've ever had. And here it is. I'm sitting on a wood floor, no furniture, just moved in. The movers are dropping off the last stuff and closing the door. And I'm like, okay, now how do I buy a website now? GoDaddy.com. And that was the birth of LM Knox Law and Mediation. Had no idea of what I was doing, but I learned along the way. And what I realized as I'm owning as a law firm owner, you know, I had to make a decision. Do I want to be an attorney who owns her own firm, or do I want to be a CEO of a law firm who is also an attorney? And
Mm-hmm.
that's where I'm at now, where I have decided, and I am a CEO of a law firm,
Mm-hmm.
and I am an attorney.
Yes, you are. Um, let's talk about you. We talked off air about you speaking to some inner city
Yes,
children.
yes.
How do you empower your clients through education?
I my goal, Dr. Shaw, is to have my clients leave stronger,
Mm-hmm.
better,
Mm-hmm.
more confident. Now I don't provide therapy for my clients because that would make me an expensive therapist. I do
Yeah.
encourage my clients to get therapy, right?
Yeah.
But I speak life into my clients all the time. And I remind them, I have no problem of telling them where I was.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it was, you know, I've been there in the middle of the night where you're crying through the middle of the night because you don't know how you're going to provide.
Mm-hmm.
I've been there where, you know, my ex-husband was at one point sleeping in the parking lot of our apartment complex. And, you know, if you ask him to this day, he'll say, no, it's just cheaper. But I know he was trying to intimidate me,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Um, I have been in this situation. I mean, I tell the youth, people make mistakes along the way. I was not always a saint. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I don't know if I consider myself a saint now, but I definitely was not even as good then, you know.
Yeah.
And so I had a small little situation a couple of times where, you
Mm-hmm.
know, I'd hear watch your head.
Mm-hmm.
You can move forward and past that. And that can be
Mm-hmm.
part of your testimony. You have to own your story and own your mess, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what we are. We are all just walking piles, and I don't mean it in the way it sounds, but walking piles of mess. We're just trying to figure our way out sometimes and figure out what to do sometimes. And that's why we all have to give each other some grace and give ourselves some grace.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end of the day, we're learning. What
Yeah.
is it? We are divine spirits having a human experience.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I try to remind my clients of that. I let them know where you are on Monday is not where you're going to be on Friday. And
Yeah.
sometimes Friday is a long way off, but it's coming. You're going to be all right.
How difficult is it to, because I know you're not just working with one single client. You got
Right.
all these different clients, different situations.
Yes.
Like how do you separate all of that? How do you uh compartmentalize this one versus this one, um and it just doesn't all mesh together, like and how do you keep everybody calm and understanding from the get-go, letting them know, I'm assuming from the get-go, this is a journey, we're on it together. Like how do you manage all of that?
That's exactly what I do. I tell from the beginning, this is a journey. It's a roller coaster.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to ride it together. We're going to
Mm-hmm.
go through the journey together if you
Mm-hmm.
let me,
Mm-hmm.
right? There may be times where you're going to scream and yell, and that's fine. Don't panic unless you see me panic. When
Mhm.
you see your attorney panic, then you hit panic.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And then my job is not to panic. And sometimes
Mhm.
that's the hardest part of the job. Sometimes I have to go, on the outside, I'm like this. But on the inside, I'm like the little ducks underwater, just paddling along. But it's sometimes hard to balance. I'm going to be honest with you.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's hard to balance, but there is a commitment to making sure that I hold the line for my clients.
Mhm.
I know they're trusting me. I know they are essentially what is keeping them up at night and causing them to lose sleep.
Mhm.
They're trusting me with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I recognize that what I do, it affects generations.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Share anecdotes about some of your memorable cases, or even your challenging cases.
whew, gosh, I've had quite a few memorable cases. I have a couple of cases. One case I think about, I had a person, and so this was my lesson in compassion and understanding the role that I play as an attorney.
Mhm.
It's not
Mhm.
just a professional role per se.
Mhm.
I had a client who is transgender,
Mhm.
um, male to female,
Mhm.
transgender. And so, we did all her paperwork and so forth to change her name. And, you know, when I first met her, you could tell, like, okay, she sort of had a rough exterior, sort of a rough actions, I guess, because she was expecting judgment across the board, right?
Mhm.
And it was a couple of hours actually before the hearing, and she had been blowing up the office. And so I said, I'll talk to you when I get to the courthouse. And we get to the courthouse and we're sitting in the waiting room together. And she looks at me, and this, strong person strong person, who had gone through all the judgment and the hate and had, had
Mhm.
to get a divorce and all those things and say, hey, I'm living my life as a woman now and all this kind of stuff. Looks at me, tears in her eyes, and she says, what if the judge calls me a he? Or what if the judge just keeps calling me by my dead name? Now, I didn't know what a dead name was at that point.
Mhm.
So I'm
Mhm.
trying, once again, little feet paddling. And I
Mhm.
try to, look up what a dead name is. And then I can look at my client. I find out it's just, their previous name by their previous gender. And I
Mhm.
looked at my client, and all I could tell, I said, I can't control what the judge does. But you will be respected in there. And we might get what we need, or we might end up in jail on contempt. But I'll go with you. I'll go with you.
Mhm.
I don't have to walk your walk. I don't have to agree with your walk. I don't have to disagree with your walk. But my job
Mhm.
is to make sure that you get to walk that walk. That's
Mhm.
my job with respect and dignity.
Mhm.
That's all my clients.
How important is it to you to give back? And I just mentioned, talking to the children or whatever, but just giving back to the community. How important is that to you?
It's everything. It's everything.
Why?
I I was a little girl who didn't have.
Mhm.
I didn't have Easter dresses until somebody said my first Easter dress. Someone was like, "Hey, let me take you to Belk Lindsay's." I'd never
Mhm.
been there before,
Mhm.
you know. Um, my first speaking role, I never forget it. I was in a play in middle school, not because I was particularly good, but because somebody believed in me.
Mhm.
There were women who came to volunteer their time, and that was the first time I met like college women, you know, that I could see, oh wow, there's this, because I lived in a neighborhood where, there was dope dealers and prostitutes and,
Mhm.
and everybody's mama was on some kind of benefit, and everybody's mama, either worked or was on drugs or whatever, however you need it to be, and there was a
Mhm.
hustle for everything, you know.
Mhm.
Um, but there were people that I could say, "Oh, I remember." So when I got into an opportunity where I could achieve, it made it doable. You know, I even when I get into waters now where
Mhm.
sometimes it looks like it's deep and maybe I can't swim, I can
Mhm.
remember, okay, I remember when this person volunteered. I remember when
Mhm.
I went to this junior achievement program,
Mhm.
So I owe a debt to the children who come behind me, to the
Yeah.
young people who come behind me. I owe a debt because I didn't get here by myself.
Yeah, 'cause of auntie, and
Yeah.
I got it. Yeah.
Yes. I need to be somebody's Aunt Priscilla.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So we've already talked about this, but I need you to say it publicly. You're
Okay.
coming back.
I
You
am. I
are
am
giving,
coming back.
yeah, and you're so that the audience has the opportunity. They can call in and ask questions. We'll make sure that you guys know ahead of time so that you'll have time to gather your questions together.
Yes.
I'm so honored that you would take the time to talk to us today, and we look forward to having you back again.
I am so grateful that you allowed me to come on today. I'm sending you a virtual hug, so I thank you, and I can't wait to see you. Can't wait to see you.
Absolutely. And I can't wait to see you guys again next Saturday, right back here, same chat channel, same chat time, right here on Doctor to Doctor in the chat room on 94.7 FM. We'll see you next Saturday.